Welcome, everyone, to Time to Change, preserving the well-being of Black women leaders in government contracting. Today, we will be taking a look at a problem that is pervasive within government contracting, and that is the diminishment of well-being for Black women leaders at the senior or executive level. This problem is caused by microaggressive behaviors and also implicit bias. It's a problem because the issue affects the bottom line of these organizations through a loss of expertise and experience with these tenured leaders. And the target group for this analysis is executive and senior leadership. We're going to use a prototypical organization called Satellites Are Us to dive into the issue. It's a small to medium-sized organization that also does have a need to meet diversity goals as set forth by the federal government to continue being awarded contracts. So the mistreatment of Black women leaders through microaggressions and power dynamics can really impact and cripple their ability to grow their own business and to maintain their current status within the industry. Researchers tell us that Black women's mental health concerns are related to dynamic relationships between racism and sexism. Implicit bias creates stereotypes unless they are disrupted by a differing idea or another perspective. Women in general have a fit for leadership testing that they go through by virtue of being in male-dominated industries, but this is exacerbated for Black women. Black women also experience a magnified level of oppression, and those in power positions must deconstruct systems of oppression of others for there to be any change within an organization. Black women themselves are saying that microaggression training is not effective because it does not cover every microaggression. So often those who take those trainings don't see their own personal behaviors and thought processes in the examples that are given. Executive leaders may acknowledge a problem, but often refuse to acknowledge what their role is in solving it. Dismissal of their concerns as a group is something that constantly happens because they're either labeled as angry or emotional instead of there being a real introspective look into the concerns as presented. And finally, employee assistance programs are not the answer because no one wants to call a 1-800 number for the type of support that's needed in a situation where well-being is being impacted on a daily basis. Our recommendations in the near term include construction of a challenging DE&I exercise that forces leaders to face issues that they have not wanted to acknowledge. Our example for today is Jane Elliott, who is a prominent sociologist who poses the question, would you change positions with a Black person? And if your answer as a leader within an organization is no, then you have to acknowledge that there are imbalances in power and authority and be willing and open to dive a little bit deeper into those issues. We also recommend mental health support that does not dismiss the stress of being either one of few or the only person of color or woman of color in the group, and also mentorship structures for women of color by those who have experience with the phenomenon of being a woman of color, either other women of color or people who have been specifically trained to mentor folks with these double bind challenges. The ADKAR model helps us through our change process by making executives and senior leaders aware of the causes and effects of Black fatigue on Black women in leadership. And we increase desire by helping leaders to understand that the total cost of Black fatigue to the organization come through a lack of focus. So having a desire to amplify your bottom line will also help a desire to move this change forward. We want to provide stakeholders and all relevant parties data and offer them the leverage of tools to be able to understand what is going on from the root to the end result. We also want to embolden leaders with the skills and behaviors that they need to example change for the organization. And finally, reinforce behaviors by using internal and external data. The key stakeholders are executive leaders, Black women leaders, and senior leaders who are in the same cohort. Our goals and objectives include at the 6-month level, engaging an outside consultant to conduct the training needed with the executives and senior leaders. We want these to be transformational experiences, not just regular run-of-the-mill training, and also revamp mentorship programs and qualifications for participants and mentors. At the 1-year level, expand mentorship program by 50% all around, a rollout of company-wide training, and an increase in engagement scores for Black women leaders by 15%. At the second year, we want to decrease turnover by 25% and overall engagement scores for Black women leaders by an increase in an additional 15%. Our success will be defined by a reduction of attrition and grievance filings, improved internal support through benefits and program offerings, increased engagement scores, better diversity balance for reporting to the federal government through affirmative action programming, and increased motivation for those involved. Our key challenges are that government contracting is a male-dominated industry, so there may be a lack of understanding generally. A grouping of all women or all Black people together is a common thing that happens, but Black women have unique challenges, and also the pace of work in government contracting, where they're always chasing contracts to stay afloat. The resources that we need will be a budget large enough to be able to conduct the training and also implement some policy changes and new programs, a subject matter expert with a DEI focus from an external consultancy, and an executive champion, either from a new position or an existing leader on the executive team. Our key milestones are conducting the DEI consultation to identify the issue and leverage data to clarify the impact of the problem on profitability and reputation of the organization. Also, we want to provide insight into the harmful effects of Black fatigue on Black women in leadership and how daily actions cause it. We want to highlight progress through metrics and providing ongoing support of leaders who are participating, and also conduct engagement surveys and spotlight the efforts of those who are actively participating. Our communications plan is simple. We want to begin with executives, flow down that communication to senior managers from the executives, and then stay in constant communication with Black women leaders in the organization through ERGs, which are employee resource groups, direct learning sessions, and also we want to make sure that we're sharing best practices externally for recruiting purposes. Our evaluation plan includes surveys, ERG feedback, data points from our human resources team regarding any ongoing open investigations and new investigations, and random anonymous check-ins with Black women leaders for feedback through the consultant. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Have a great evening. Fight on.